linked Jackson Arnold to Mississippi State. In fact, predicted him to go there.
How on earth could he have ever made that connection?
Yeah, again, 1 + 1 sometimes equals 2. And also, Haydad did some more mathing earlier as Mario Craver has entered the transfer portal. And now, here we are.
Connect the dots for us, Haydad.
So what does it mean, Basil?
Now we just got to listen to him giggle.
I'm still not 100 on the COVID thing here, too. I've still got a little phlegm.
You're still blaming COVID? Good grief.
Well, what do you want me to blame? I haven't had Ebola yet. So let's connect Craver.
I hope your cold is better.
You stop. Old denier.
I was going to put this
there
on YouTube, but now it's going to get flagged.
Yeah.
Because they're still doing that.
So, Craver, Van Buren, I don't know that they're necessarily tied at the hip in terms of where they'll end up, but it does appear like Mississippi State is in the driver's seat to bring Jackson Arnold to Starkville. That Jeff Lebby has made the decision between the two quarterbacks and has decided to go with his former protege at Oklahoma, a guy that he absolutely loved in the recruiting process and was very excited to work with. And then when he took the Mississippi State job, it kind of it didn't work out for Arnold so well under Seth Luttrell at Oklahoma. So Craver and Van Buren very close, very tight. So Craver out. There had been some talk that Craver's price tag was going to be more than you should be willing to pay a wide receiver who hasn't put out the most incredible stat line you've ever seen. I mean, I thought Craver was a really good player. I thought he had great potential. But I think State can replace 368 yards and 3 touchdowns. I feel like they can do that.
Okay.
Van Buren, it is a risk. There's no question, right? I think Van Buren's got a lot of potential. I think Arnold's got a lot of potential. So it becomes down to, do I trust Jeff Lebby's assessments and evaluations of quarterbacks? I have to answer that with yes, right? Look at the way the man is coached. Look at the quarterbacks that he has put out and taking guys that, Corral, nobody knew that Matt Corral, they knew he had a big arm, but nobody knew he could be the kind of quarterback he became under Jeff Lebby's tutelage and when he was at Ole Miss. Dylan Gabriel's career, it's obviously still very good, but he got going under Jeff Lebby. So I'm going to trust that evaluation, and I think I'm wise to do so. So I don't know about anything about a timeline. You got to get Arnold here, got to get him to visit, got to get him to sign. But my guess is by the end of the week, Mississippi State will have its quarterback, and it will be Jackson Arnold.
So what about Blake Shapen?
I believe Shapen's going to stay. Because Shapen was going to stay regardless, right? He was going to stay if Van Buren was still here. I think he's I don't know if it's just kind of a Spencer Sanders sort of situation that State has enough NIL around him that he can stay. And that's a great backup option. And honestly, I think you could let him compete, and if Shapen wins out, I don't know how that pans out, but I think Shapen's going to stay. I think State's quarterback room next year is going to have 2 5-star quarterbacks in it, Jackson Arnold and Kamario Taylor, with Blake Shapen in the middle there. So
that means you think that Jackson Arnold is significantly better than Michael Van Buren. I'll show my work here.
When you say you mean Mississippi State.
No. I mean you, Brian Haydad.
Okay.
And here's the reason that I say that, because it sounds to me like you think Jackson Arnold would beat out Blake Shapen, but you had said that you thought Blake Shapen would beat out Marty Van Buren.
I think if Arnold comes, that's Lebby's guy. That is Lebby's guy.
And he didn't really get to play him his freshman year.
Right, because you had Dylan Gabriel. Why would you play him?
Yeah.
So I think if Arnold comes, that's going to be the guy game one for Mississippi State, whereas with Van Buren and Shapen, I think it would have been more of a competition. I do agree with that.
Okay.
And then there's the question component is, quote unquote, why if he does, we haven't seen it yet, but it seems like that's on the way. Why would you let Van Buren walk, quote unquote? Why would you let him walk?
There's also a lot of talk that Van Buren's number is high, whereas there's the rumor mill, and I've talked to some people that make me think that I'm telling the truth here, that that Arnold's just going to come cheaper than Van Buren would, maybe significantly so in that regard. And that allows you to have more money to spend on the weapons around him and on the defensive side of the ball, which, by the way, Arnold is great. And I'm sure you can get some offensive players, but until State get some defensive guys, this is all kind of a wash.
At the risk of sounding negative, if you don't get better on the offensive line,
that's not. It's not.
You've seen what Jackson Arnold is as a quarterback.
You got to improve there,
and he's just really, really average.
Yeah, got to improve there
with a better offensive line.
Yeah, and that's true about every quarterback.
We'll see.
That's true about every quarterback. You got to have guys to block.
Yeah.
So,
but we know that Oklahoma offensive line was a struggle for especially the first half of the year. They got a little bit better as the season went along. But it was a struggle for them in the first half of the year, and I think some of his struggles coincided with that. And lost his job. I will tell you one thing that really stands out to me as, like, you know why I like Jackson Arnold? That guy got benched, and he didn't pout. Mm-hmm. He didn't sulk.
Didn't say I need to be redshirted.
And he didn't immediately put his name in the transfer portal. He kept waiting for another opportunity, and guess what? They came back to him, and he was better the second time around.